Emphasising the resurgence in the Tooheys Newcastle Premiership, over 300 people turned out for the awards night at the Newcastle Leagues Club. Along with a number of life memberships, a trophy was awarded to the Rookie of the Year, exciting Waratah Mayfield halfback Paul Allardyce. At only 18 years old, he's being hailed as a star of the not-too-distant future. It was a big night for the Cheetahs as their captain-coach Craig Higgins accepted the trophy for the Coach of the Year for guiding his young side into this Sunday's grand final against Lakes United at Harker Oval. And 2HD's Ross Allen was in charge of the major announcement. Williams not only won the Player of the Year, but also the Players' Player Award and the leading point scorer of the league. The Curry hooker compiled 176 points for the season with 18 tries and 52 goals and was the backbone of the Bulldogs' climb up the ladder to finish fifth. But what about his membership to the Hookers Union after scoring all those points?
Well, Dad's kicked me out of him. He's got rid of me. But Dad taught me from a very early age to back up inside. Like Dad was a hooker back when the going was tough. And, you know, I'm not saying it's not tough now, but it's a little bit easier than what them days were.
Phil got a belated call to sit on the Knights reserve grade bench against Penrith, but would like a more permanent offer.
You never shut doors behind you, so that door's half or probably a quarter of the way open. So I've got to play by ear and just wait and hope. I say.
And his tip for this weekend's decider between Lakes and Waratah?
I'd say Lakes by a whisker.
This is the last time March Road residents will be able to hail a bus outside their homes. From Monday, all non-school services will be cancelled.
Unless I either walk over the back of my place, up through the Sandhills and onto Nelson Bay Road, or the couple of kilometres from here to the Nelson Bay Road, virtually I'm stuck here and have to rely on neighbours or just good luck.
The Port Stephens Bus Company says the road is simply too bad to use. Drivers have labelled it dangerous and say it is destroying their vehicles.
We have one bus away at the moment being completely rebuilt because of the road damage caused by the roads, and that one in particular.
What sort of things are being damaged?
The body itself has been damaged, and this particular bus has had to go back to Sydney. It's been there for 8 weeks for rebuild.
Residents have called on the Port Stephens Shire Council to start massive repairs. $50,000 has been allocated to reseal this section of the road, but locals say that will be money down the drain.
The road is too low. It needs to be raised up. At Christmas time we have king tides, so water will be flowing over that resurfaced road. So it's not going to do any different, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
The cubs came from as far away as Foster, Broken Bay and Aberdeen, and, as their motto says, they were prepared for anything. Billy carts were raced through a slalom course, skills were tested on part of the Singleton Army Base assault course, and old-fashioned bush fun was enjoyed, with sack races and a makeshift bucking bronco. Less strenuous was the screen printing of badges, mural painting and a giant jigsaw of the Australian flag. The main aim of the event was to foster unity among the cubs.
In the 1950s, the chapel at the convent of Our Lady of Mercy in Singleton filled daily for morning service. Now there is only one Mass a week, held for less than 15 sisters. The old halls of the convent are all but empty and the grounds deserted. In the sisterhood's heyday, this grand old mother house was home to scores of nuns and novices. Now there are only 12 in permanent residence. It's been almost a decade since anyone joined the Sisters of Mercy in the Hunter and stayed. It's a similar story across the country. There are fewer girls ready to give their lives to the church by joining a religious order. Deanna Dryberg is 21. Until 18 months ago, joining the Sisters of Mercy was a real option. She is still very active in the church, but has, for the moment, dismissed thoughts of becoming a nun.
When I was about 17, 18, I started thinking about it seriously. And then I got to about 20 and I really thought, no, it's not the right lifestyle for me because I had ambitions in other areas. There's so many possibilities for young people to be active in the church without having to actually take a vocation. I think that I can give as much to a Christian community and live a strong Christian lifestyle without actually living within an order.
Society is changing, and so are the girls who might once have been candidates for the sisterhood.
The girls of today have so much freedom. Well, life is freer than it ever was. Now, even in my time out in the world, women didn't do then what they do today, fair enough? They didn't have the freedom, they didn't have the jobs, they didn't have the qualifications.
With changes in the outside world have come changes inside the convent. The black and white habits were abandoned by most in the late 70s. Strict rules have eased and the mysterious wall between sisters and other members of the community has been broken down. For those of the old school, the changes are not all good.
I think in a way we've gone a little bit too far. I think we should be able to, if I walk down the street, I think people should know I'm a nun. If you walk down the street, well, they should know that you're not a nun. That's fair enough, isn't it?
Others believe they are necessary.
Yes, I think we have to do some changing. I don't think it's all out there that the change has to take place. I think we have to change. We have to be more aware of our own sort of witness value. We have to be more committed.
The Sisters of St Joseph have also seen vast changes, but according to Sister Virginia Burke, the future of the order is still a bright one.
Over the last 25 years, religious life and religious all around this country and all around the world have been trying to recapture something of the initial dream that their congregations were set up for. The first Sisters of St Joseph were the sort of people who were marriage counsellors, they laid out the dead, they were midwives, they helped people with their accountancy and banking and you name it, they did it. My father even told me that he knew one who was a blacksmith and a baker. They were great women in the community. Some time after that, sisters were sort of discouraged from being so close in society with people. But now I think we're reclaiming that very early image of ourselves, and we wish to live and be closer with people in ordinary lives.
While religious orders may always exist, changing priorities and declining numbers mean the sisterhoods of the past are on their way out.
Religious life as we know it's finished. But there are a lot of us still to live out our days. And I think as we know it, it will probably disappear.
It's different now, but it's good now. I don't think it's a time of despair because of lessening numbers. I think it's a time of hope for a new way of being church.
Mm-hmm.
Lake Macquarie City Council paid the Hunter Valley Research Foundation $37,500 to survey 1,000 residents in April and May this year. The idea was to find out what ratepayers think of the council and the job it's doing. More than three-quarters of all those asked agreed that roads and environmental protection were by far the most important issues to be faced by council. Specific issues, such as the development of Green Point, hardly rated a mention amongst those surveyed. The results were bad news for most of the council's 16 aldermen. For the majority, less than 8 in 100 knew who they were. Many surveyed confused other council and state figures as their representatives. One of the most surprising findings of the survey was that the majority of residents favour an increase in rates if it means maintaining or improving council services.
That was a surprise, the fact that people would prefer to pay more rates to increase services rather than continue the rates at the same level and decrease services was a surprise. But I think it tells us something for the future, doesn't it?
The most negative responses to the survey came from Ward 3, which covers much of the West Lakes area. The majority of residents in that area rated council's performance as very low. The survey recommends that council improve the way it communicates with its ratepayers. Ivan Welsh says aldermen will be taking the findings seriously and acting on them.
We will certainly be making a lot of changes based on the findings of this survey, because we did the survey, we conducted the survey to find out what the people wanted. Now we've got a book that tells us exactly what the ratepayers want, and we, the aldermen, are bound to service those ratepayers, so we'll make the changes.
Right now, the Knights are sizzling, and as they continue their push for a spot in the final five, their army of adoring fans have become more adoring than ever. So it's no wonder last night's Little Do turned out to be quite a night. More than 400 supporters, most of them youngsters, braved the chilly August weather to turn up at the ASC and meet their heroes. And despite all the pressure they're under right now, the players couldn't have been more obliging. Big Mark Sargent was in hot demand, as was Gary Worth and Glenn Miller. And clearly Michael Hagan doesn't want to be remembered as the captain who didn't quite get them there. He was staying on the soft drink. Coach Alan McMahon couldn't say the same, but he was all too happy to put his name to paper in between sips. Flash Gordon was another big favourite. He was even presented with his own personal Flash doll. Such nights are nothing new to the Knights camp. They usually hold 2 or 3 each season, arranged by the Knights Supporters Club. But officials say last night's roll-up was certainly the biggest ever, and not only proved a big thrill for the kids, but also the players, who will undoubtedly have that support in the back of their minds when they take to the ISC on Sunday.
Well, it would make the Commonwealth Bank the largest domestic bank, and would it would put it in the top 75 to 100 of world banks, and it would give it the capacity to get a deposit base in other parts of the world and become a major international banking player for Australia.
Mr Keating made plain the final decision would be the Victorian government. He said federal cabinet only gave approval following an approach from Joan Kirner, the new Premier of Victoria, for assistance with the state bank, which is facing enormous losses incurred by its merchant banking arm, Tricontinental.
And to complement the perfect day, near-perfect bowls as the finals of the fours, pairs and mixed pairs were fought out. In the final of the fours, it was Merv Saunders' team from Lemon Tree Passage who survived a torrid battle and in the end were worthy winners by 22 shots to 19. The pairs was an even contest all the way through between Terry Webster and Jim Cowan from Charlestown up against Gary Walsh and Frank Rice of Cardiff. With 2 ends to play, only 1 shot separated the 2 teams, but Webster was able to get the upper hand to win 21-16. In the mixed pairs was also a close contest. This time it was Alec and Pam McCloskey up against Pat Skinner and her skipper John Feeney. And it was the latter pairing of Skinner and Feeney from Raymond Terrace that were crowned Matara champions 16-14. Hello everyone, welcome to our look at Friday night sport, and of course the big event this weekend is the match between the Newcastle Knights and Balmain here at the International Sports Centre on Sunday. They don't come any bigger than this game. A win for the Newcastle Knights will put them into a playoff for 5th position in the Winfield Cup semi-finals. A loss, well that'll be it for 1990. Talking to our league expert Slam and Sam Stewart, and Sam, they don't come any bigger than this, do they?
No, besides the grand final, no, they don't come much bigger, and probably for Newcastle, and especially for the Newcastle Knights, this would be our biggest game we've had in our brief history.
How's the build-up been during the week?
Oh, it's been a little interrupted. We've had a few problems with injuries, as most teams has this time of the year. We've got our fair share, and because of that, we've had a few problems on the training field, getting the full team on the training field. But towards the end of this week, we've been a lot better. The boys have been getting a lot of treatment, and we're pretty keen on fielding a full team.
Interesting when you have a look at the clashes between Balmain and yourselves. You've played on 5 previous occasions and the home team has always won. You'd love to keep that tradition going on Sunday?
Yeah, we sure would. Balmain haven't beaten us up here, and that obviously gives them an extra incentive. But then again, we haven't beaten them down there, but all the Balmain clashes have been very, very hard. The forward battle's been hard, and the backs have been, sort of put at each other's. The test has been right onto them. But in the last few games, there's been a few controversial things happening in the game, and obviously that's in the back of a few people's mind. And hopefully for us, it just might motivate the 1 or 2 players just to get over their opposite.
Sam, of course, there is a do-or-die situation. You must win the match.
Well, that's how sort of crucial it is, this game. If we lose, as you mentioned before, we'll be sort of a couple of days on it. If we win, we'll be sort of right onto it again. But down in Sydney on Tuesday night, and it is our last chance, and we're given the opportunity by Parramatta virtually beating Balmain last week. They showed us how to do it, and we're going to follow trait.
Sam, it's been a topsy-turvy week in rugby league. We've seen the St George club in upheavals over signings and sackings of coaches. Talking about signings, you haven't signed for season 1991. What's the story?
No story, Mike. I've had a couple of preliminary talks with the club, and it's no secret that I'm quite keen to stay in Newcastle. It's basically my second home, and I've also added a couple of more children while I've been in Newcastle, and I'm very settled and enjoying Newcastle a lot, and as well as the football. So I'm quite keen to sign again. My manager, in fact, is in Newcastle this week, and hope to speak with the club. The Knights, as far as they're concerned, we've got another 4 top-line players to sign, and they have to take into account the draft as well as the salary cap. And there is a few problems over the salary cap at this stage with the financial problems that the Knights have had, although I'm sure that'll be sorted out with a nice, kind government grant. But I'm sort of quite resigned to playing for the Newcastle Knights in 1991.
What sort of money are you asking for 91?
Oh, as much as possible.
Sam, that's a very diplomatic answer coming from a Kiwi.
Oh, actually, you know, I'm quite a humble person, and I sort of take whatever's coming as long as it fills the bank.
Of course, that'll all come down to next week and the weeks to come, but as we said, all attention on Sunday.
That's right, sort of we're forgetting about signings on and money in the bank. We're just sort of going out to beat Balmain, and from there on, whether it's Manly or Balmain on Tuesday, we'll give it to them too.
Thanks very much, Sam, and all the very best to you and the players for Sunday in the big clash against Balmain. And if you can get out here at the ISC, do so, because the gates open at 10:30. You'll have plenty of time to get settled. The President's Cup starts at 11:30, the reserve grade at 1 o'clock, and then at 2:30 before the big game, a parade of the retrovision vehicles and a chance for you to win a trip to the Kangaroo Tour, and that would be something else. Well, that's our look at sport. Look forward to your company next Friday.
When the gold ran out in 1910, the town of Copeland died. As the years passed, the main shaft deteriorated and was badly vandalised. A headache for Gloucestershire Council until 4 years ago when John Dale took over and began an ambitious restoration program. Today, Goldtown is a popular tourist destination and a prime excursion spot for schools in the Hunter Valley.
At the moment, we're probably averaging about 3 schools a week out of the Hunter. This is somewhere in the vicinity of 180 to 200 kids a week.
The mine extends about 350 metres underground. At the end is a gold-bearing quartz reef, perhaps one of many left behind. While there are questions about how much gold is in the mine, there's definitely gold to be found in Back Creek, and visitors have a chance to try their luck. Although the rebuilding of Goldtown is complete, owner John Dale has plans for the future. Log cabins for those who prefer fossicking at night, and plans to utilise empty side tunnels in the mine.
At the moment, we are negotiating with a couple of wineries in the Hunter Valley. The temperature in the mine is a constant 18 degrees, and that, of course, is a perfect temperature for aging port wines. And we're negotiating at the moment with a couple of Hunter wineries to actually store their ports in this mountain.